have Ahmad Al Ali, principal with Farid Ismail at X Architect. We met a long, long time ago. You would describe X Architects as strong components of the Arabic culture, but translating it into contemporary design. And then we have Dima Ayad. She's the creative director and namesake of her own fashion brand, Dima Ayad, a brand known for its inclusivity and is a global sensation, I would say. So we're going to start off, and actually I would like to challenge the title of this talk. I want to know why success is always seen as a global thing, not so much as a regional thing. Why do regional brands, Dubai UAE brands, feel that their only success is when they go global? I do have a bit of an issue with this. We should see ourselves as exporters, not importers. And, you know, is this partly because we need to change how the customer or consumer thinks?
I think if you look at in the last 20, 25 years, the most interesting projects and creative projects are happening actually in the Middle East. The ambitious projects, the forward-looking, also in terms of its size, ambition, varieties, and so on. In the process of making our own city, it's actually where we are pushing the boundaries all the time. I think that's naturally made us at the forefront of our industry in terms of designing, architecture, and so forth. So now, let's say the table is turning. Whenever that there is a project that has, let's say, a forward-looking or an ambitious, and they want really to have creative ideas and challenge the norm, is actually where they look for companies in Dubai, grown in Dubai, to be able to help them set a new vision. So I think it's happening naturally as a process, and this is.
Too slowly?
I think it's natural to happen in a slow manner. We are talking about, of course, developments. Developments does not happen overnight. You are talking about something that also stays for hundreds of years. So, and it's a profession which requires professionalism, engineering, knowledge, science. We're talking about architecture and so forth. So, yeah, it's happening in a very slow manner, but it is happening. And I really get clients from all over the world, like East, West, from Russia, from UK, from, of course, all over the Middle East too, that where they are trying as much as possible to learn from the Dubai experience and to bring people or companies grown and operated in Dubai to give that kind of input.
Yeah, and actually you made me think of this point in quite a different manner when we spoke. You said to me, actually in Dubai we have a very global multicultural community, so it's natural for us to want to take things to where we consider, yes, we consider this home, but consider like taking what we do elsewhere where we're from, etc. And I thought that was a really interesting point.
Yes.
You mentioned something when we talked about, wasn't so much seeing a gap in the market, but wanting to contribute to the community, which I thought was...
Sure. Yeah, I think you have to put it in the perspective in 2003 or something, between 2001 and 3, where many of the projects in Dubai started were very commercial and real estate based. And the biggest, the most kind of ambitious projects, but when you look at the details, it wasn't really community oriented. What wasn't about people, like interactions, people's providing public spaces and interesting kind of publicly realm. So we thought that we could contribute and change that, where we could really start to look at the city for its communities and for its residents.
And it changed so fast during that time.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I think it changed. I wasn't really optimistic at the beginning, but then when I started to see the rhythm of change and adapting positive feedbacks, whether from us as a designers or planners, I was started to see, no, the city is learning very fast and implementing also many of the things that we have been suggesting and contributing, whether from regulation or design or also some ideas and concepts. We see it immediately started to be implemented in the city, which is, I think this is the power of Dubai, learning very quickly and implement while you are moving forward.
This is just a side note, but I love that you call yourself a designer, because architects are generally very arrogant. I don't know if there's anything
Yeah. Sumaya is objecting. So.
And then something, I know you're all business owners, but something I think about and I find quite challenging here is finding talent. It's something that you all shared with me, so it's interesting that in terms of all categories, we find it quite hard. Ahmed, you have an interesting approach to finding talent. Could you tell us a little bit about that and the network that you've built, even internationally?
Sure. I mean, definitely, it's very hard. It's a concern of any creative business to find talent. And many of the creatives, they don't want to even leave their country or their families and so forth. So we find it very hard to really, at a certain time, to have all the talents we need in a project, especially when we're talking about architecture, where you require a diverse and many fields talent. So we decided to look at our company as kind of a core studio, and then we have a satellite studio. So we always interact with people who either work with us for a long time or people who could collaborate with us in a projects. And then we started, when they go back to their country, we started to tell them, okay, we don't want to just end that collaboration. What about you start to, let's say, build around you the talents and be in your place, and we could still collaborate. So we have interesting studios in Europe, in Asia, where we started to go to the talent places, and we started to interact via, of course, the internet, and it's very easy now to communicate through Zoom and other kind of means. So our project, it's like you can imagine it as a core. Our office is a core, and then we have so many satellite offices in different places around the world.
And I'm sure the audience wants to know, would you be open to collaborating with any architects that are in the audience, or architectural firms or designers?
Yeah, we do all the time, by the way, yes, for sure. And we collaborate all the time with the younger studios and architects, and it benefits both ways. In our profession, is actually collaboration is very, because projects are big and there are so many different scopes and all of that, so there is a room always for many ambitious people to join together creatively to do something.
So grab Ahmed at the end, give him your details. Something that else that is bothering me quite a lot is that we always talk about new and emerging talent. I worry about, I worry about those medium-sized businesses actually who might have 10 or more years experience. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity. Okay, you might argue with me, there's more opportunity than those brands. I think people talk about and focus on younger, I mean, because of, I'm sure, the dynamics of the city. But Ahmed, I feel that it's a very symbiotic relationship between those young brands and the medium experienced brand, because there's a big thing in terms of mentorship, which, also during COVID, they completely lost sight of. And I feel through the experience of the medium-sized older brands, they can share their knowledge. And the smaller, younger, emerging brands, they have so much in terms of, even whether it be content or how they do their storytelling, etc., etc. Now, looking at the landscape and looking at the possibilities of this Quoz creative zone, what do you think is missing from the landscape? What areas of support do you feel that this community needs?
No, it's very interesting that you pointed that the medium scale, or let's say the guys who had, let's say, 10 years of experience. Actually, the challenge starts there, because when you are young, you are pushing, or as a firm, like pushing and try to fight as much as possible for existence, and you have so many energy and all of that. But after 10 years, I mean, you need a little bit of a stability and so forth, so you'll be able to continue. I think it's more interesting to look at the things not in terms of categories, but rather than a kind of ecosystem where at every kind of the whole spectrum of businesses needs to be respected and needs to be nourished, and many let's say rules that applies for small businesses might not important concern with the medium ones or the big ones, let's say. So it will be more intelligent to look at the whole thing as a spectrum in terms of even things that we offer, in terms of the
change in policy.
Yeah, the policy, exactly. So the policies, how you respond to that, how you accommodate the business scales, how it could be distributed and encouraged, and to look at these kind of completely different, let's say, levels of businesses and cater what they need, really. So, and if you fail to do that, I think it will, this ecosystem or this sustainability of businesses will not be there. So it will be very difficult to sustain businesses in a longer term, in the longer run.
Yeah, absolutely, because we don't want to lose the likes of Dima and we want to maintain that there is support, there is, financial and other help. Right, I have one question to all of you. I want your final last words and advice that you wish someone had given you at the beginning of your journey.
It will be interesting. I wish that I had people who I could not necessarily, is to learn from people who are already in the business. And not necessarily to work under, but to be able to see mentors. And this is really important, to see how mentors are operating naturally within their businesses and how they are. And when you start your career, you are noticing everything and how they are really tackling the businesses, the clients, the projects, and so forth. And when I started, I was missing that. And it's very important to learn from the successful people who has their own way. Yes, you could add and create your own path, but there are a lot of things to learn from them on how they are really moving forward. So I would say, yes, concentrate on maybe learning from mentors or finding mentors, travel to see other people how they are working and so forth, so you could really choose to follow their path, or at least create your own way, but at least you understand how businesses are moving, creative business.
I think this is a great thing that Dubai culture could be focused on in terms of creating certain mentors or something online that people could go to as a reference. Thank you.
You're a young architect. How did you get your first few projects, or how did you strategize for starting off your first business? I'm an architect myself.
Well, if you have a family member there, you can force them to be. So I forced my uncle, my father, my partner forced his father to give us the projects. So this is how we started. So yeah, you have to start from somewhere. And if you could, especially when you're talking about architecture, which you need to have the capability to be able to really market yourself and be able to, because it requires knowledge of engineering and other kind of disciplines and construction. So if you can really find friends or relatives or somebody who can first trust you and give you the first projects just to be able to build a portfolio, that's a good strategy.
Thank you very much.